Elliot,
Hello.
we're in a bit of a dry spin in terms of Counter-Strike.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, we just looked through everything that we were getting ready to talk about in this podcast. Normally we have an opener story that we put right here where we talk about them. We've got a big story, then we got a bunch of little stories. There is just literally nothing. We have like two things on the docket today.
Yeah. And we're now breaking the fourth wall by explaining to you how the format of the podcast works. And I've just broken the fifth wall by explaining to you that we're breaking the fourth wall.
But the point, the matter I wanted to bring up here is that until Counter-Strike 2 releases and until Pro League, there will be nothing to talk about. Now, fortunately, Pro League is next week.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Pro League starts on Wednesday, which is when we record.
Yeah.
So if we talk about Pro League this week, then we have nothing to talk about next week. And then we're
choosing to ignore Pro League.
Yeah, Pro League doesn't exist. It's not real. It can't hurt us. So we're talking about Gamers8 today. We'll talk about Virtus.Pro.
Something else, probably.
And then we'll talk about whatever else we find. You know what? Maybe Counter-Strike 2 comes out in mid-podcast. That would be interesting.
That would be typical, wouldn't it?
That would, yeah, really.
No, it will come out an hour after we finish recording.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's roll the intro. Welcome to Overtime on Inferno. My name is Logan Ramhap. This is AZS. We are here today with absolutely no news, but we have Gamers8, which concluded this past weekend. If you didn't watch it, you're not the only one.
Yeah. There's a lot of Counter-Strike going on nowadays. And has been for a long time. And I'd like to say it's totally okay to skip a tournament. Or just skip a few days.
I completely
we'll always be here to tell you what's happened, if nothing else.
I completely skipped this tournament. So
I didn't. I watched a decent amount of it.
I
didn't watch every game because
I caught replays at the end. That was my best my best effort of like highlight reel replay kind of stuff. Because I couldn't be asked to watch this tournament.
I'm just very busy at the moment. I'm in the house on my own at the moment. I'm looking to buy a house, so I'm every so often I'm speaking to mortgage people, and I'm very busy. I can't sit around and watch Counter-Strike all day, even though that's pretty much what I do. I can't afford to, but I am.
I was away all last week. Like we live busy lives that don't involve watching single elimination tournaments, but we'll still tell you about it.
It does often lead to me playing a lot of Counter-Strike as well, though. So. Oh, yeah, I can talk about that as well if you want.
I could talk for hours about my current struggles in the competitive scene of teamfight tactics.
Oh, dude, we need a separate podcast for that.
That'll be the end story for the day.
I cannot get out of Platinum. We'll get to it later.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about Gamers8 first. Tournament, Saudi Arabia. Bunch of teams did about as expected. We talked about some of this we talked about none of this at all. We talked about like openers. If you listened to our podcast last week about who we expected to go through, we were right on every single count. There was not a match that we predicted wrong in the first round.
We're so good.
We even predicted. Even true?
Sorry, is that even true? I feel like I would have said Apex would beat Gamer Legion.
Yeah. I think Apex Gamer Legion was the only one we were iffy on, but we said Gamer Legion.
Did we? God, we're smart.
I mean, here's the thing. We even guessed, and by we, I mean you even guessed that 9 was going to lose 1-2 by only winning Vertigo.
By winning Vertigo and then losing the next two. Yeah.
We were on Vertigo.
Their Vertigo is world class. I don't think there is a better Vertigo team in the world than 9. But they don't have a second map yet. If they get as good at any other map as they are at Vertigo, they will start winning. They will start winning a lot because their Vertigo is near unbeatable. They're so good at Vertigo, man.
So our problem in the prediction business came to an issue through the quarterfinals. Heroic versus Gamer Legion, we were right on that. Heroic ends up winning against Gamer Legion. I'm pretty sure all of us expected that. The EntsCloud9 one, I don't remember what we predicted, but I don't think it was an ENTS 2-0.
It certainly wouldn't have been Cloud9 getting 13 rounds over 2 maps.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a stomp fest.
Ents were brutal. They were so good at this event up until,
But yeah, no, and they kind of smashed Cloud9.
Yeah.
Weird.
Bodied 'em.
Again, so we said this last week, and I'm going to say this again. I give Cloud9 like a month and a half, 2 months, basically through all Pro League, until I'm going to start really judging them.
Yeah, they got interrupted by the obviously Axile having to dip, which was not useful. And I think that's probably set them back like a couple weeks. So they're probably like a couple weeks in prep behind everyone else. Surely they get there because there's too much talent on this team to not be really, really good.
Speaking of a team with too much talent to not be really, really good, Virtus.Pro made one move after this tournament, but we have to talk about them pre-move.
Yeah.
They still had Kiekert.
I believe somebody said to us that we made them believe too much.
No, that's not true. You can't believe
and I
too
think,
much.
I think, yeah, maybe a little bit. But, they gave G2 a decent run. They beat him on Mirage. G2's Inferno is really good. And
here's the thing. I don't think people believed in them enough to beat FaZe in the first round, okay?
I don't know. FaZe have been pretty poo recently.
I think people kind of just forgot that Virtus.Pro existed for a bit because they've been playing in Mickey Mouse Cups.
Look, I would take multiple wins in Mickey Mouse Cups over losses in Tier 1 events.
I agree, but you and I are also not professional Counter-Strike players.
Yeah, but FaZe, I think we can probably talk a little bit more about FaZe because I don't know what to do about FaZe. If I'm FaZe, because they are trending downwards, and like we said before, they won so many games from unwinnable positions, and eventually that will catch up to you. It's not like when Heroic win or when Vitality win, it feels like they're far and away the better team. When FaZe win, it feels like
they're the worst team for the first 25 rounds and then figure their shit out in the last 5.
They really are just Real Madrid in the Champions League, where Real Madrid in the Champions League would consistently get outplayed every game and then score in the last minute, or Thibaut Courtois would have the game of his life and save 15 shots, and they just win. And you're like, they can't keep doing this again. And they just won 2 or 3 Champions Leagues back to back, or got to 3 Champions League finals in a row. But at no point were they the better team in any game. And that's what FaZe felt like. They felt like they were getting outplayed constantly. So if you're FaZe now, do you stick with what you have and say, this is a team that has won championships? And even though they're not in great form now, we know mentally they are incredibly strong. You don't want to get rid of Carrigan because he's proven that he can win, and all of the pieces individually you look at and think, these are good pieces. So, what do you do? I
think your question is you start looking at piece individual by individual, right? You go Carrigan. Is there an upgrade we can get over Carrigan?
Probably
no.
Not.
Twists. Is there an upgrade we can get over Twists?
Probably not.
I'd say yes, but not realistically.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean.
Right. So
there is better players.
There's better players.
Some better players in Twists, but
is there a better player that you will get that you don't have to pay $2 million in buyout for, plus then having to pay more money? Is there a better? No. Is there a better person than Rops?
Not for really,
no. And here's the thing. In my head, right, any person that we've said no for so far, I just go, well, G2, but they're on G2, so
yeah, that's the thing. You could maybe get a player from G2. You could maybe sign some superstar, but it doesn't seem worth it.
So our next player is Rain. Someone has to take the roles Rain plays in.
Yeah,
I mean,
do you know who would be a very slight upgrade on Rain? Is Madden, who is basically the same player for Ents, but a bit younger. Yeah, but in my eyes, a bit better as well. But you're not going to get him either.
Yeah, because Ents is a better team right now. I think Ents is just a better. Ents has proven that Snappy's not as good as Carrigan, but he's up there. And I think that that's more of a project of you got to believe in yourself to be in that project, and they obviously believe in the project. So Madden doesn't want to leave.
No.
And then
I think I just really rate Madden, and I think
yeah.
he would actually maybe be an upgrade. But
And then we get to
again,
Brokey, who's the last player. Who
he's probably the one you look at and think maybe we can do better.
Yeah, but here's my thing with Brokey, right? Is like, oh, let's say we're going to go replace him with like brand new CIS opper. Insert
Just
one of
literally
seven,
any of them.
insert any CIS opper here. Does that make the team better?
If you got a superstar AWPer, yes. If you didn't,
I feel like we're talking like percent of a percent here. Like I know that
I think
superstar operas are better than Brokey, but Brokey plays. First of all, Brokey is part of the reason that they are winning right now, or they have
not
won.
winning right now.
They have one is because of Brokey's clutch ability.
Well, that's the tough bit, right? Is Brokey, when they were winning, Brokey was so good and so reliable in the clutch. But how consistent is clutch ability? And that's not a trick question. It is like...
Yeah, no, with some players, it's very consistent, right? We saw Zip, we saw Shocks, we saw...
But even Zip fell off and stopped winning clutches.
Well, but there are plenty of players who you can say, this guy is a clutch player.
Yeah.
But they've always fallen off. You're right. Yeah. Like, Shocks obviously was not the same clutch player towards the end of his career as he was at the beginning. Zip obviously was not. I'd say... like of like pure clutch players, like Nafly is probably up there, and he's definitely fallen off in the clutch factor.
Yeah, it feels like you can't consistently, because if you could consistently win clutches, that would be great. That'd be amazing. If you could always win 1v2s, that'd be what a great ability that would be.
Yeah,
you obviously can't against pro players, especially as like every year players get better and better at every situation they can possibly be in. They make fewer mistakes. So it becomes harder and harder to win these clutches. And Brokey, outside of his clutching, doesn't offer that much in the early to mid round compared to somebody like Device, who's actually become very aggressive. Or like Device will go for an opening pick and he'll get it, whereas Brokey, it feels like, doesn't really go for opening picks. He is very much a supportive piece until the clutch. Like he basically plays like Zipex, but with an AWP, which in the clutch it is obviously beneficial to have an AWP, but you'd almost rather have it in the early round where it can really make the impact and really do some damage.
So here's my problem solution, and I don't have an answer. This is not a question I'm asking where I know where we're gonna go with this, which is FaZe have won because of the clutch. Let's go back 5 months, right? FaZe have won because of the fact that they will play a game all the way to the end and they will win your 50-50 rounds, right? The question is if you switch your opper, does your team's entire identity on how to win change in such a way that you're not playing that same way? Or is there an upgrade over Brokey that will help them to play to that win condition? Or are they swapping? Yeah, okay. Well, okay.
So
but
that's not happening. I think, I think that's a fair comment, but I also think that it probably isn't the worst idea for FaZe to change their style completely.
I wouldn't disagree that it's worth for them to look at the style, but we are looking at this team based on this is their style.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at
style isn't working.
Yeah.
Which I think is the key point there. And it's like you could always just have Rops alive in a clutch with an AK. Because the things Brokey does with an AWP, Rops can do with an AK. And that's not a slight on Brokey. That is just talking about how insane Rops' first bullet aim is. Like Rops has the cleanest crosshair placement of any player I've ever seen.
Yep.
And he's ice cold in a clutch. And
you'd say he may be
have him like
he may be cool in a clutch.
Well, quite, but he's also quite passive off the default, and it does feel like you have him and Brokey who both want to stay alive for the clutch, and it does kind of leave Rain, Carrigan, and to some extent Twists like in purgatory, where they're sort of they're trying to make something happen, but Rops and Brokey want to be alive for the clutch, understandably, because they're both incredible clutch players. Maybe just keeping Rops and you swap out Brokey for somebody who's a bit more willing to get their hands dirty in the early round. Maybe that helps. But it's also, this is a team that has won the major and it's won
Grand Slam.
Katowice and won a Grand Slam. Like, it's really difficult to look at it and go, well, this is the problem, because a year ago there wasn't any.
There's also something to be said for this team has been together as a 5 for like what, 2.5 years,
something like that.
It's been a bit that this team has been together for a while, and that it's Rob's joined almost 2 years ago. But there's something to be said for this team has been together in the same way for a super long amount of time, and that there's something to be said for knowing who your other players are, knowing how they play, exactly what they're going to do in any situation, and not changing out players every 5 minutes. I mean, we've had this conversation before with a bunch of other teams, but
yeah,
like it's a little weird.
It's very easy as an outsider to point to roster moves as a solution to every problem.
Yeah.
But I'm not Carrigan, so I can't. It's very difficult for me to find the solution from inside the server. So the natural evolution is to go, what change can they make outside the server?
And they have. So they just brought in Neo.
That's true.
And they just brought in who the fuck is it? Flashy, who's the former
from
now
CLG.
I was to say FlyQuest Red, but
yeah.
CLG Red coach. Who actually had done wonders with that team. That team was always good. We'll see. I don't have like a harsh yes, it's gonna happen, or harsh no. There is
maybe they'll be really good at CS2. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, CS2.
It's horrible to make a change now, knowing CS2 is coming, right?
Yeah, I think most teams made a change for preemptive for CS2, but it's kind of weird because game's not out and you don't know how players are going to really play on it yet because everyone's still playing Global Offensive.
Yeah.
Okay. G2 beat Virtus.Pro in the quarterfinals. We got to this discussion from there. The other match happened in quarterfinals. Vitality beating Na'Vi, which was expected. The rest of this tournament went about as expected. Ents beat Heroic, which I would at this point consider expected.
Yeah, I would too.
I think Heroic,
the Heroic mask is slipping slightly.
Yeah. Vitality beat G2, which I would also say is expected, though a little probably more towards the even.
That game could go either way. I mean, it went to overtime on map 3, right? So,
yeah.
That game was really close. G2 should have won it. They choked a bit on Mirage.
Yeah, and then to finish out the tournament, Vitality beat Ents 2-1, which was a considerably better showing than they had against G2. I mean, I guess it was 3-1 in the Clone Grand Finals, but still, to me, it was a better showing against Vitality than it was.
Yeah, they got smacked by G2. And
yeah, it felt better. That's Gamers8. The Virtus.Pro stuff that we wanted to talk about very quickly is Virtus.Pro has announced that Kiekert will be leaving the team and they will be bringing Norbert back from the bench. He was on the bench because of injury to his hand, I think it was.
Yeah, he broke his hand, I think.
I'm assuming not in a fight. Otherwise, CSGO TMZ would have been on it.
God knows. But Jackson doesn't exist anymore, I'm afraid.
Rip Jackson. But yeah, so Norbert is back for Kiekert, which means Mir is staying on the lineup. If you want to hear us gush about Mir for 20 minutes, last week's podcast.
He's so good.
But that's where we're at. Pro League's next week. IEM Sydney closed qualifiers are happening today. We're digging real deep at this point for.
Yeah. So we can go back and talk a little bit about Virtus.Pro, I suppose. Where I don't get it. They kicked Norbert.
Yeah.
Because they decided he's not the player. After that roster won the major, a month after they kicked Norbert,
Yeah.
And they bring in Chiron, which was in terms of
Famously a great idea.
in terms of mechanics, is an upgrade.
Yeah.
But it kind of messed with their team chemistry a little bit, like the way their roles work. So they're like, okay, get rid of Chiron. While we look for somebody, Norbert, you can stand in. Norbert does really well at an event that they win. Melbourne, I believe.
That
And they're like,
sounds right.
let's keep Norbert. But also, we're going to sign Mia because Norbert is injured, so we need somebody to stand in. But also, we're going to sign Mia on a long-term contract.
But
And then Norbert's back.
But they said it was a
So we're gonna kick
long-term
Kika.
subcontract.
Yeah, and then they kick Kika anyway. It's like, is this finally is this actually the final roster we're going with for the next how long? Another month before we kick Norbert again? What's going on? Jane works in mysterious ways, man.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird thing. I was just reminded though that officially Virtus.Pro didn't win the major. I know they did, but because I just went onto the HLTV page for the team, and the last event they won was CS Summit 7.
I said that roster.
No, I understand. It's just I found it funny that the last event they won was CS Summit 7 because
I know because I wrote a piece once for Blast about it was before the Paris major. Like, could Virtus.Pro repeat the, could they make the miracle happen again or something? And it was it was a long piece. And I thought it was really well written. And they were like, oh yeah, by the way, we can't say Virtus.Pro. Like they're going back to because it was written as outsiders.
They're going back to Virtus.Pro.
And so, by the way, they're going back to Virtus.Pro. And we can't say Virtus.Pro won the major, so we just can't publish this. Like,
yeah. So for what it's worth, since the beginning of this year, of this calendar year, so the last 8 months, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh wait, some of these don't count. 1, 2. There have been 8 moves that Virtus.Pro have made within 3 roster spots. The only person left from the old Virtus.Pro lineup is James.
Yeah, that's normal, but it's just they keep bringing Kika and Norbert. They keep bringing Norbert in and out all the time. And it's like, do you want him or not? Norbert's fine. He's pretty decent. He makes some strange decisions sometimes, but generally he's quite a good player. I have no issue with him as a player, but they if I'm Norbert, I'd be thinking you've already kicked me once. Am I safe?
Yeah. I wonder if it's just that he doesn't have a better team to go to. I don't know.
Maybe.
I do not know. It's Virtus.Pro's weird. They've always been weird, to be fair.
Yep.
They've never signed the player that you or I expected them to sign. They've never done.
I mean, the move for Mir came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they've never done what we ever expected them to do, right? It's never been their MO.
No.
So there is a kind of bit of just trust the process.
A little bit. You kind of have to trust James. He's won a major and he's been to a second. He went to a major final and then has won a major. The guy clearly knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Whether or not we understand it is...
Well, we definitely don't understand it. Let's make that very clear.
Yeah, whether or not that matters is up for debate. It clearly doesn't. So, fair fucking play to him.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to win shit, then they're going to win shit.
Yeah, go for
it. Sydney closed qualifiers are happening now.
OG lost, which is funny. There you go.
I didn't even forget. I forgot the Europe close qualifiers are happening.
OG lost to BetBoom, which is Nafany's team.
BetBoom, which is Nafany's team. Fantastic. I love.
And Chiron, who we just mentioned.
My favorite team in this is the Victory Zigzag team. With
that seems bizarre, right? Yeah,
some absolute banger players on it. Bubble, who had previously played for just every team ever, but the team that I remember from is Windigo.
He's he's a big name in Bulgaria.
Grubby, who played for AGO for a really long time. Mertz, who played for Nordavind
and North.
I wasn't sure if I was pretty sure he played for North, but he definitely played for Nordavind.
He did. He was the AWPer who finally convinced MSL that MSL should AWP.
Genius.
He got so sick of dealing with Mertz, and he was just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna AWP myself."
But yeah, they're all playing. OG got kicked down by BetBoom to lowers. Apex is up one map on. I don't even
It's called it Knassicht.
Knassicht. Sure, it's
I'm
definitely something
presuming it's like,
backwards.
is it German? What is it? No, it's Swedish. It'll be like, Knassicht. It's Knasigт.
Yeah.
The T is capitalized.
So prize pool here is 2 spots at Sydney. So the top 2 teams will go to Sydney. Sydney's got some nice rosters in it, but it's not for another month and a half, so we won't talk about it really till then. Greyhound and Vertex are the Oceania invites, which I want to state because LFO, which is the former Encore squad, will not be there officially.
Yeah.
Asian qualifier.
Is there a qualifier for them? Maybe there's a qualifier.
No, they did the Oceania qualifier, finished. That's where Vertex came from. There's a North American qualifier happening tomorrow and Friday. Top team goes, so Complexity, Nouns, M80, and Forsaken. We actually covered this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because EG lost.
When EG couldn't get in, but the team of EG Rejects did, which
fucking hell,
banger.
Long week.
Yeah. And then the Asian close qualifier is happening super early in the morning for me. But we get to see Lin Vision and Mongols fight out in the opening round.
Lin Vision are at Pro League as well.
Lin Vision are at Pro League. There's some weird teams at Pro League.
Mongols aren't.
We will talk about Pro League as Pro League comes, because there's...
Yeah. Because we're going to need some content.
We're going to need some content for next week. Yeah.
There really isn't much else. I mean, CS2 is going to drop soon, but nobody seems to know when.
Yep.
So we can't really talk about that yet.
We can. The problem that we were talking about this before the show started. Let's talk about Counter-Strike 2. Well, what did we talk about last week? Well, we talked about the MR12 thing. We talked about Italy. What's happened in the week since then? They made all the maps available offline.
Yep.
That's it. That's what we got.
I've got HLTV open, and the forum is full of great Counter-Strike conversations like best drink in the world with 183 replies. I don't know if it's referring to alcoholic or not. So non-alcoholic, I think it's Tango Cherry.
I have no clue what that is.
Like Tango?
No.
Do you not have Tango?
No, I don't think we have Tango in the US.
It's like Fanta, but
okay. So we have Fanta and Sunkissed.
Right. Okay. Well, Tango Cherry, absolute bomb. Alcoholic drink, I do love I love a margarita. I can't lie.
I'm a big fan. I found this beer near me, alcoholic, obviously, called Dragon's Milk, which sounds disgusting.
It does sound awful, yeah.
But it's 11% beer that's aged in a stout barrel. Then they made a triple malt version of it that's 18% alcohol. And the best part about it is it tastes good.
Blow your brain. Yeah, it's like European beer is all like minimum like 8%, and it's all so much better than ours. And I'm like, do we just need more alcohol? Is that what makes it taste good?
See, the problem in America right now is every beer that everyone wants to make is an IPA.
Yeah.
Which just tastes like hops.
Well, we have a lot of ale here.
I do like me an ale.
Yeah, especially up north, you get a lot of ale. But I put in the newsletter actually a rhubarb cider I had. That's
I did see that. I'm super excited.
So good. So good. Yeah, I mean, this is what it's come to. I remember once people asking us to have a whole podcast on cheese.
We
I mean, we might get there. If Pro League next week is not on, like we might
if something happens that tournaments have to be moved around because my lord, we're gonna be in a dry spell this upcoming winter, because I think so. Actually, you know what? We can talk about. There's a big news piece. Fragadelphia is back.
Fragadelphia is back.
That's it. That's the entire bit that we know.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, that is good for the NA scene, at least at grassroots level. obviously it's not going to make a difference to the top end of the NA seed yet, but in terms of a long-term
I mean,
improvement to the NA seed, it's
we had
good
a
idea.
lot. There were I was there last year. Obviously, we had a lot of players there last year who are now on tier 1 teams. Right, Apex was
Yeah.
there, the older iteration of Apex.
It was Apex Rebels, right?
No, it was Apex. Knock and
wasn't it?
Jakim, they were there. It
Oh,
was just
okay.
the iteration with Shocks, and
Oh, right. Okay.
which is a
right.
weird thing. And then the big academy team was there. So Sin and Prosis and Hyped were all there.
Yeah.
And Team 1 was there. So and ATK were there, which is now Swisher and Malbs on M80. So there were definitely some now what we think about considering it's tier 1 teams there, or at least parts of them.
Very few of those are even America.
Yeah.
So it hasn't actually done that much to develop the American
absolutely.
Team, develop the European scene more. No, I mean, having grassroots stuff like that is always useful for a scene. I mean, like the UK, you take the piss about the UK scene, but it's probably better now than it's been at any other point in CS:GO history.
Plus, you get the
we've had Epic and iSeries.
Plus, you get the fun of being in one room where there's 4 matches going on at the same time, and you hear people shouting at you from across the room.
Yeah,
which is just a banger.
Insomnia is kind of weird because you're just everyone plays it in a hall, and it's just like 90% of the people there aren't playing Counter-Strike. It's really strange.
No, at Frag, everyone there is playing Counter-Strike. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
they book out the thing. I think there's a couple computers for like
Insomnia is just very strange. Like, people just go there and you just like walk over and it's just people like playing like FIFA or something on their own. It's like, why are you
here?
Whatever, man. I don't get it, but it's not, I don't get it.
So yeah, Fragadelphia is back. I've been personally, I've been just grinding TFT. It's been my life. I really wanted to get to gold again before mid-set because I was stuck really low in silver for a while. Made it.
I'm stuck plat 1 at the moment. I cannot get out of platinum.
So if you don't care about TFT, this is the last thing we're going to talk about this podcast. So thank you for
joining. You can tune out now.
You tune out. If you do care, or if you want to keep listening to us, please stay. I played a lot of Noxus when Samira reroll was broken. Got all the way up to gold 1, like 90 LP, and then lost all of it. My you know the LP graphs that they have, it is actually a spike up and then immediately down the second that got nerfed. And I finally found my new comp, which is Aphelios Bastion. But
I mean,
it got nerfed again. Well, I've been playing it for like a week and a half. I was playing it before it got buffed. But I'm looking at this going, I just need to make sure I'm ending in like higher gold because it was.
I play all sorts of stuff, but my real Achilles heel is anytime I get offered anything that looks like a multicaster start, I'm spamming multicasters. I don't know why. No. They're so satisfying.
I used to play a lot of Bruiser. Not this set, but every other set I play Bruiser carry. So when like Soifin was really in, that was like my jam. But I used to play 8 Bruiser with like Jax carry, or this set I played 8 Bruiser Rek'Sai carry.
Rek'Sai's so good.
It's so much fun to just, even if you don't deal damage, you just sit there and go, please do damage to me. I will take all of it. You win based on time.
Rek'Sai with like just Bloodthirster and 2 Titans resolves, 3-star. I don't think I ever finish outside of top 2 with it. Like, it's so strong.
It's super good. I really am enjoying playing Bruiser right now.
I'm excited for Gangplank.
I'm excited for mid-set.
Gangplank's like
Silco's
Gangplank
back.
and Vlad are the 2. Yeah, when I played League, which I don't really play anymore, Gangplank and Vlad are the 2.
Is Vlad coming in this set?
Vi.
What?
Oh, Vlad. No, he's a legend, right? So.
Oh yeah. I forgot.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah. It's okay. They're not bringing Rammus back, and that's all I care about.
I'm just glad to see my boy GP back. That's all I care about.
I don't know. I'm excited. Silco's back, which I think is interesting that we're starting to get more of the other people in. This podcast has gone really off the rails. We're gonna
it's fine.
we're ending because I gotta go back to
I remember I used to listen to a podcast once that like at the end he would just do a 10-minute Bible corner, and it was a football podcast. It was really strange. I used to just like listen to that point. I go, right, I'm not interested anymore. That's what I imagine 50% of people just did.
The Bill Simmons podcast, so like big sports podcast in the US, does I think it's like Parent Corner or something like that, where whoever's on
Yeah.
with them, they just talk about their kids for 10 minutes. This is the
Nice.
TFT corner. It's
Yeah. It's important stuff.
It's an important
stuff.
It's great. You can find us on Twitter at Logan Ramap, at AZESK, and at ReadTLDR, or I guess X, or whatever the fuck it's called today. We'll be back next week, hopefully with slightly more content for you to actually listen to, and not us ramble about TFT for 10 minutes. And also,
maybe that's better.
Maybe that's better. If you want to hear us ramble about TFT for longer,
listen to our new TFT podcast.
Listen to our new TFT podcast. Talk if you know. You see us next week. We'll be back. Bye.